What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my NFL Week 18 power rankings. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel to be entered into our giveaway. 32 are the Panthers. Didn't score a single point and lost to the Jaguars here. Nothing really good. The only thing that came out of this game was the owner getting fined actually $300,000 for throwing his drink onto the fans. And that was the big storyline coming out of this game for the Panthers. 31 are the Commanders. This team has lost 7 straight, more than likely going to be 8 straight to finish the year as they have the Cowboys this week. And the quarterback position is going to be a big question mark heading into next year. But if this somehow they can find a way to upset the Cowboys and give the Eagles the 2 seed, then, I think a lot of people for the Eagles are going to start to thank the Commanders. 30 are the Chargers. Ugly loss to the Broncos on the road. The defense only gave up 1 touchdown, and that was the difference in this one. And next year is going to be who is going to be head coaching this team, and can they get back to the playoffs after last year's success? 29 are the Giants. Tough loss to the Rams at home, losing by 1. They couldn't stop Kyron Williams, and that was pretty much it in this one. He did whatever he want, 3 touchdowns. Then the defense played well, besides Kyron Williams, of course. But then the offense really struggled. The 2-point conversion at the end didn't get that. Missed PIT, didn't get that. But I think this team is right where we thought they would be at this year, at least in my opinion. I didn't think they'd be just as good as last year. Maybe a little worse just because Daniel Jones went down, but they get the Eagles this week to possibly not let them win the NFC East. 28 are the Patriots. 4 turnovers, bad week for the Patriots, and they still almost upset the Bills, but they look to get right to finish the year and beat the Jets. 27 are the Titans. Very ugly loss on the road to Houston, and they can still, make an impact for the playoffs. They can knock the Jags out of the AFC South for the title, at least, if they can beat them this week. And that's all they got to play for this year. And maybe Tannehill's playing for a job somewhere else next year as well. 26 are the Jets, and the Browns just destroyed them in the first half, putting up 34 points. But it was good to see the Jets offense look good at the beginning of the game. And next year, obviously, they're looking forward to next year with getting Aaron Rodgers back. 25 are the Cardinals, and a huge upset win over the Eagles on the road. And that was because of a 29-point second half, sparking that comeback win. And can they do it again this week? If they can beat Seattle, they're officially eliminated from the playoffs no matter what happens. And I like it here. I honestly think the Cardinals can rally off 2 straight wins and make some noise and knock a few people out of spots in the playoffs. 24 are the Vikings, and they need a miracle to make the playoffs. Obviously, need to go into Detroit and beat them, and then need pretty much every NFC team that is still in this thing to lose. And this Vikings team gets in. It's probably not going to happen, as they probably won't even beat the Lions. But the Vikings came just short this year, and you just wonder if they had Kirk Cousins, where this team would be at. The Falcons fall 3 spots after a bad loss to the Bears. They had no answer for Justin Fields on the ground and through the air. And this is where the quarterback play really hurts them at this point in the season. Didn't really get too much out of it, and that's why they couldn't keep up. 22 are the Raiders, and their playoff chances are over after their loss to Indy here. Now they're going to have to address the head coaching position and the quarterback position heading into next year, but they still have a good game this week against the Broncos just to, play good and finish strong to the end of the year. Those Broncos come in at 21. Even after this win, I'm just dropping them down. They did not look at all like the same team with Russell Wilson, and they're now officially eliminated at 8-8. Even if they finish 9-8, they won't make the playoffs due to tiebreakers. There's just a lot of questions surrounding the quarterback position heading into next year. 20 are the Seahawks, and tough loss at home against the Steelers. They're now 2-5 in their last 7, and they need a Packers loss, and they have to win to get into the playoffs next week. And they had it all right in front of them, but this loss really hurt those chances. 19 are the Bears, and this team is eliminated from the playoffs. But if they can finish 7-10, which with a loss, or 8-9, I think that's kind of a win for this team, just because of what started at the beginning of the year, how bad they were. And now they can knock the Packers out of the playoffs if they beat them. And, for Bears, I think that's what you got to play for right now. 18 are the Bengals, and with their loss, they are eliminated from the playoffs. And they're question marks now. Obviously, this Browns game, it doesn't really matter because both those, obviously, the Bengals are eliminated and the Browns are locked into the 5 seed. Their biggest question, will they re-sign T. Higgins and Joe Mixon? Obviously, Jamar is going to be back next year, but after that, big question marks. 17 are the Saints, and they get a huge road win against the Bucks to keep themselves alive in the NFC South. If they can win and the Bucks lose this week, the Saints are your NFC South champions. And same for the Falcons. If they win and beat the Saints and the Bucks lose, they are your NFC South champions at 8-9. Those Bucks have it all right in front of them. Got to go to Carolina, win, and you're in. It's just that easy. They'll be the 4 seed. They can get in and beat the Panthers. But can they beat the 5 seed, whether it's going to be the Cowboys or the Eagles? Can they beat one of those teams if the Bucks do get in? 15 are my Packers, and they're jumping up a lot here. 6 spots because of that huge win on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Love with 4 total touchdowns as he did it all. And he had a depleted wide receiver core yet again. Jaden Reed went down in of the second half. Man, he was out for the rest of the game. So it was Bo Melton and Romeo Dobbs really carrying the load here in this one, and especially Aaron Jones. It's good to have him fully healthy. He had 20 carries for 120 yards, and they need the same kind of game here if they want to beat the hot Bears right now. 14 are the Colts, and they're staying put. And it was a close win. The playoff hopes stay alive, and win and you're in scenario versus the Texans, and it's all right in front of them. I think it's a very successful year, even with Richardson going down early. Showed that Minshew still can be a starting quarterback in this league. 13 are the Steelers, and if they win this game in Baltimore, the Steelers team might have figured something out at the right point with Mason Rudolph. But I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying they need a lot to happen. And the Ravens obviously still have the 1 seed right now, and they could sit some guys. But if you really want to sit someone against an AFC North opponent, your division opponent, and possibly not let them get in the playoffs, I don't think that's what the Ravens are going to do. But expect the Steelers to go all out here in the last game. Jaguars move back up after a bad loss last week. They get a dominant win this week. And if they win, they're in for the home playoff game. They get the 4 seed and will face the 5 seed in the AFC, which will be the Browns. But Lawrence, if he can get back healthy for this game, he's progressing. Hopefully he can play in this one and lead them to the promised land. Texans move up 2 after their win over the Titans. Stroud came back from injury, played well. Singletary, a great game. Nico Collins, good game. And the defense was a big focal point in this one, obviously only allowing 3 points. Forced fumble recovery, touchdown, and 6 sacks. And they really took off in the second quarter, scoring 17 points. And since then, they didn't have to look back. At 10 are the Eagles. They fall from 6 to 10, 4 spots down after their loss to the Cardinals at home. And this team is struggling, giving up 29 points in the second half to those Cardinals, 1-4 in their last 5 games. And if you're going in the playoffs, this is a team you kind of want to face right now. They can't figure it out, can't win the close games right now. And Jalen Hurts obviously still had a good performance here. I don't know why he's getting some backlash after this week's performance, but it just wasn't enough. At 9 are the Chiefs. They jumped back into the top 10 after their first time out of the top 10 this year. And that's because they got the win at home against the Bengals. Harrison Butker was the player of the game, 6 for 6 on field goals and 1 for 1 on extra points. And they need to figure out some offense here, getting into the end zone if they want to win in the playoffs. 8 are the Rams. Take care of business in New York. It was scraping by, but a win is a win at this point in the season, and that's all that matters. And they currently hold the 6th seed in the playoffs. They clinched already no matter what happens in San Francisco. But they're 6-1 since their week 10 bye week. And since that bye, this team has turned it around mightily. Kyron Williams, especially getting back fully healthy. He has been the focal point of this offense since his return. 7 are the Dolphins. Not much to say, except this team can't beat teams above 500. They're 1-4 this year, and they really need to just hit the reset button, throw out the tape from last week, and focus on this week because they can win the AFC East with a win. It's all going to come down to Tua, and if he doesn't turn the ball over. 6 are the Lions, and obviously not reporting is eligible. Reporting is eligible. The big argument, what happened. But either way, I think of it as Dan Campbell still could have kicked the extra point when they got moved back to the 7 and tied this game. And I get it happens, bad call, so be it. But they could have tied this game and possibly sent it to overtime, but they still chose to go for 2 twice and didn't get it those last 2 times. But I think there's still lots of hope here for the Lions in the playoffs. They get the Vikings this week, and it's more for seeding purpose. But the Lions, if they finish 12-5, they're exceeding a lot of people's expectations for them this year, winning the North especially. Top five starts with the Bills staying pat at 5, and it's the AFC East deciding finale in Miami. They win, they could be the 2 seed. And if they lose, a few things have to go the other team's ways, and the Bills don't make the playoffs at 10 and 7. I know that's crazy to think about a 2 seed or not making the playoffs. And it's going to come down to their defense and how they can stop the high flying Dolphins offense. Last week they did great, forcing 4 turnovers, a pick six, and 3 sacks. And the Bills defense is going to have to come to play if they want to win. At 4, I have the Cleveland Browns. This team is just on fire right now. Joe Flacco is cooking, and his top target right now, David Njoku, has been awesome to watch. Now, Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt in the running game, those guys are getting more involved as well. And I expect more of a running game this week against the Bengals, just to, keep Flacco fresh and warm and not have to do too much. At 3 are the Cowboys, and they are the beneficiaries of the Lions going for it so many times. And I think a lot of people forget that in this game, CeeDee Lamb had a touchdown, reached out for the pylon, and fumbled it through the end zone. So this game could have been drastically different, and the Cowboys could have won by a touchdown if that were the case. And Cowboys at home, they're very good, 8-0 this year, 3-5 on the road, and go to Washington, can win the division. You got to get this one. It's the biggest one of them all to get a few games at home in the playoffs. Niners jump back up to 2 after a win in Washington, and McCaffrey got hurt. That was the biggest storyline from this one. He's already been ruled out for week 18. Could be precautionary or it could be very severe. We don't know yet. I'm going to go with it's precautionary just because rest him this week, rest him next week because they're the 1 seed and won't play. And then whoever they play, he'll be fully healthy in that one. So I think that's kind of the logic behind that. But it was good to see Brock Purdy do better than he did a week before against the Ravens defense. It also helps when you go from the best pass defense to the worst pass defense and you play well. And that one, best pass defense I was talking about and best overall team in the NFL right now, the Baltimore Ravens. Dominant win against the Dolphins. I picked the Dolphins to upset the Ravens, and that obviously didn't work out well for me here. Lamar, all but a lock to win MVP at this point. 5 passing touchdowns on 18 attempts is pretty crazy to me. Gus Edwards had a great day. Isaiah Likely looking great and possibly could take over the Mark Andrews role, whether it's next year or the year after. And it's kind of clear-cut favorite here to win the Super Bowl at this point in the season, as the Ravens really haven't struggled here in recent weeks. That's going to be it for my Week 18 power rankings. Check back next week to see where I rank all 14 playoff teams and how I think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.